Hi everyone, this is Dr. Funke Brown. Do you know that up to 75% of teenagers participate in some form of gaming, whether it's video games on their phones or, on PlayStations or all the different gaming devices? And currently, these numbers are actually increasing. This is just for teenagers. We're not talking about preteens or old or adults as well. And whether we like it or not, gaming is here to stay. It does offer some benefits when you think about it. It's used for recreation, it's used for connection. It also improves hand eye coordination, as I've heard some teens argue about, which is true. And then the other piece, interestingly enough, is that it's now becoming a source of revenues for teens because now you have teenagers that could be playing their video games and streaming it live for other teens around the world to watch, and they pay to watch it. So it's a lucrative business. So while you have some benefits from gaming and from the gaming industry, it's been very successful. It does have a lot of detriments to our sleep, and that's what I'm here to talk about. So studies that have been done looking at the impact of playing video games frequently and playing before bedtime in teenagers have shown that one, they spend less time in slow wave or deep sleep. And I've talked about this before, but there are different stages of sleep. We go through light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep or dream sleep. And so that deep sleep is your slow wave sleep, and it's a cycle or stage of sleep that really helps with restoration and growth and development. So all the stages of sleep is important, but kids that have played a lot of video games actually have a decrease in their slow wave sleep. So they're really losing some benefits with that. The other impact that's been shown is that they have a longer, what you call sleep latency. So it takes them longer to fall asleep. And so you can imagine if they're taking longer to fall asleep and they have a set time, for instance, when they have to wake up, they have a decreased total sleep time. Another third impact that's been reported is increased reports of daytime sleepiness. So if the quality of your sleep is affected, if you're not getting enough deep sleep, and if the quantity of your sleep is affected, then you're going to have, when you combine those two, you're going to have effects during the day, and this can manifest as daytime sleepiness, which has been shown in the literature. The interesting thing about this is when you compare those who played video games right before bed with those who just passively watched TV, the impact was much worse in those who were actively engaged in gaming. And so this is something that really we need to pay attention to with our teenagers. Our teens are more at risk of all these effects because they're biologically wired for a later bedtime. So they have a delayed circadian rhythm with puberty. And so you can imagine that they already are wired to fall asleep later. And then on top of that, we have the effect from the video games. And then in some teens, they're just more alert. So you have suppression of melatonin. And combining all this together, they just really have a harder time with being able to fall asleep. We already have talked about screen time and its effect on our melatonin production. So that's one other piece of this. The use of the blue wavelength light that we experience from these devices suppresses the secretion of melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So that's usually one of the most common reasons why sleep can be affected. But then again, if you're gaming, you're excited, you're playing those video games really aggressively, very competitive, you're winning those games, you're earning money, that in and of itself, regardless of the impact of blue light, is enough to suppress your ability to fall asleep. So what's the solution? I'm not here to say get rid of video games entirely. I don't think that's actually possible right now. Again, I listed some of the benefits, but I think we can do things in moderation. So one, my recommendation is to avoid video games, electronic media, any form of electronics about 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. So we can have alternatives. As a parent, you discuss with them. So it's not something that they go in unaware of. So you let them know you could play video games, but up until a certain time. Another thing that I would recommend in order to do that is have them play it in the open. Play video games where everyone is available. That way you can monitor their use a bit more closely. A third thing is taking devices out of the bedroom. So instead of having the devices, say, charged in the bedroom, you can charge your electronics outside of the bedroom and have a charging corner. Some people will charge their devices in the kitchen and things like that. And then a fourth way you can limit this video game use at bedtime is not to use it as an alarm clock. Don't use their phones as an alarm clock. Let's get a good old alarm clock. So that way there's no excuse to having those phones and things like that in the bedroom. So that's number one solution. We want to eliminate electronic media use 30 to 60 minutes, video game use 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. The second is to follow a regular sleep schedule. So having a set bedtime and a wake time that's uniform. This is the expectation. This is what we're going to expect from you. Having that discussion with your teenager. So that way they know, okay, I need to go to bed at this certain time. That means I need to be off my devices at about 30 to 60 minutes before, and they can sort of count backwards. I know it's a bit of a struggle, especially when they have homework and things like that. So those are deeper conversations that you would need to have with them. And then the third is save gaming for waking hours. It seems like it's very intuitive, but then that's just what it is. Save gaming for waking hours. Find during the day time where they can have some downtime and they can game during the waking hours, and actually be role models and good examples to their friends and colleagues about, listen, we prioritize when we game now to during the waking hours so that we can have time later on in the day for family time, for, wind down and things like that. So that's it. Video games in and of itself are not evil. They do have some benefits when you think about it, but they can impact our sleep significantly. And that's where it's important that we work with our children to make sure that they're sleeping well, even if they still want to play those video games, and we're prioritizing things appropriately. I would love it if you share this video, if you comment, and also subscribe to my channel. Interestingly enough, I do have a Sleep in Teens course that's live at restfulsleepmd.com. And this really breaks down and helps distill knowledge about sleep for our teenagers so they can take autonomy on their sleep health. So right away, just go straight to restfulsleepmd.com. It'll also be in the show notes, and get them started on really restful sleep. Until next time, I hope you rest well.